Here is an in-depth report of Ohio government actions that occurred on 8-10-2026. Based on the available records, the strongest documented state-level actions that day were Governor DeWine's executive order on recovery housing, the Ohio Attorney General's Human Trafficking Summit and Roblox litigation move, the Auditor of State's related response and fraud enforcement announcements, and a legislative action by the Ohio House on Police Chief Certification. 13910, Executive and Administrative Actions. Governor Mike DeWine signed Executive Order 2026-03D on August 10, 2026, directing the Ohio Department of Behavioral Health to create a statewide certification program for recovery housing operators. 1. The announcement says DBH will assume certification and oversight responsibilities for recovery housing, particularly for publicly funded recovery housing, which indicates a shift of regulatory authority into a centralized state framework. 1. The cited release identifies the action as a same-day announcement from Columbus and ties it directly to the governor. 1. The Ohio Auditor of State, Keith Faber, issued a formal statement on August 10, responding to the DeWine administration's recovery housing announcement. 3. Faber's statement confirms that the administration intended to increase oversight and directly handle certification of substance abuse recovery centers receiving public funding. 3. This is best read as an administrative reaction to the governor's order rather than a separate enforcement action. But it is still an official Ohio government action on the same date. 3. Legislative activity. The Ohio House of Representatives reported passage of House Bill 852, which would require anyone appointed as a police chief to hold an Ohio Basic Police Officer Training Certificate. 10. The House Republican News Post indicates the chamber unanimously passed the bill. But the available result does not provide the roll call, amendment history, or final chamber date beyond the news item itself. 10. Because the source is a House caucus release rather than the enrolled bill text, the safest conclusion is that the House advanced the measure on or by August 10, 2026. 10. The Ohio Senate page for Senator Jerry Serino shows a same-day statement. Serino's statement on rising socialism support and education reform, tied to his high education bill SB 461, the Strengthening Ohio Civics Act. 7. The source is a member news posting. Not evidence of floor action, so it supports an official legislative communication on August 10 rather than a formal vote or committee hearing. 7. Enforcement and legal actions. The Ohio Attorney General's Office announced on August 10 that it is seeking lead plaintiff status in a securities class action lawsuit against Roblox. 9. The release says the office is accusing Roblox of misleading investors about child safety protections on its digital platform. 9. This is an important state enforcement/legal intervention because it reflects Ohio's participation in a multi-party investor lawsuit through the Attorney General's Office. 9. Also on August 10, Attorney General Andy Wilson opened the 7th Annual Human Trafficking Summit with remarks calling for greater collaboration among law enforcement, prosecutors, advocates, and service providers. 9. The event is described as taking place this morning, which makes it a public-facing enforcement and policy event rather than an enforcement action in the prosecutorial sense. 9. The significance is that the AG's office used the summit to coordinate anti-trafficking efforts and reinforce victim identification and protection priorities. 9. The Ohio Auditor of State's office also announced it received nearly $2.3 million in U.S. Department of Justice grant funds to combat Medicaid fraud, drug and human trafficking, and related crimes. 3. The release frames the funding as supporting fraud and crime combat work by the Auditor's Office, which is an enforcement-adjacent state action tied to anti-fraud and anti-trafficking efforts. 3. A separate auditor announcement reported that a former utility clerk for the village of Ashley in Delaware County was sentenced to 180 days in jail and ordered to pay restitution and audit costs totaling $153. 333.72 after a conviction for theft of utility payments. 3. This is a clear Ohio public sector enforcement outcome on August 10. Although the underlying criminal case details are not included in the search result. 3 public events and official meetings. The Attorney General's Human Trafficking Summit was a major public event on August 10 and involved law enforcement, prosecutors, advocates, and service providers. 9. The release specifically notes Wilson's opening remarks at the summit and places the event in the morning, but it does not provide the venue in the search result. 9. The Cuyahoga County Board of Control met on August 10, 2026, at 11 a.m. at county headquarters, 2079 East 9th Street. 6. The agenda itself is evidence of a local government meeting. But the search result does not include the agenda items or approvals, so only the meeting time and location can be stated confidently. 6. Union County Common Pleas Court also had a full docket on August 10, including criminal pleas, bond and probation-related hearings, domestic relations matters, temporary hearings, and a dissolution matter before Judge Don W. Fraser and Magistrate Scott N. Barrett. 16. Because the document is a daily court schedule, it reflects routine judicial operations rather than a policy action, but it is still a government activity on that date. 16. The Ohio Department of Education and Workforce posted multiple dated updates on August 10, including EMIS update. Districts and schools, final correction opportunities. F26 final correction opportunity for other accountability assessment open, and notices that funding and report card data review/verification opportunities were opening soon. For these are administrative education system actions affecting school reporting and accountability processes. Though the result does not provide deeper implementation details, 4 items that appear not to be Ohio state government actions, some August 10 items in the search results are not statewide government actions, or are too local or external to count as major Ohio government actions. For example, the Anderson Township page lists local community news items for August 10, but the search result does not show a specific governmental decision or policy. 11. Likewise, the Patriot Games article describes event scheduling in Ohio, but it is not itself an Ohio government action. 18. If you want, I can turn this into a cleaner briefing memo with sections for executive, legislative, enforcement, and public events. Or I can try to reconstruct a more exhaustive statewide calendar for August 10, 2026 by checking agency-by-agency postings.